to rock and roll with the best series out there called the National Treasure Series, post-national, different guests from all walks of life. You are Dick. All walks of life sharing their experiences, sharing what they thought went well, sharing what they thought would go better if they ran it, giving flowers to people who've done things really well. Anyway, we have a dear friend, a mentor, someone who I respect a lot, and someone who operates, in my opinion, in the background, so to speak, giving other people the praise, giving other people the opportunities. But I've learned a lot from you, Zablow, and I want to welcome you back to the Lucas Tigers and Bronze Show.
This is the most fun I have. This is you guys always let me talk and be myself and have a lot of fun. So I get excited sometimes.
I want to operate in the background. I'll operate in the background there. Look at this. If you're not watching it on YouTube, guys, get on YouTube. Look what's behind him. He's on like the hacienda over here. He's got
you've seen enough backgrounds behind a brick wall with a flag. I think August, we're tired. We're taking a break at Bleecker. I tried. I said no events the whole month. I literally did. I said we're doing nothing. And then Jacob, snuck one in for August 30th. Go figure.
We saw that.
Yeah, and it's gonna be fun. And King of Cards put out a killer video about it. But no, we're trying to take it easy. It's been a long year from national to national. That's for sure.
You live in a lot of ways. Tell me if I'm wrong. A thankless life, and what I mean by that is you put on for a lot of people. They have good experiences, rip packs, meet people, meet celebrities, meet athletes, and then they go home, and you guys are left cleaning it up. And then putting on the next show. Be real with us. I want the real Zablow. I know we'll talk about a million different things, but does that ever get tiring? Do you ever ask man, what's it all for?
I don't know why you got to make me go through therapy at 12 o'clock on a Thursday, Andrew. Man,
you moved to a new house, man. Why the move? Why did you decide to move to a mansion?
Listen, Mark, what he's saying to you is it's 2 a.m., right? The hobby has left the building, and you're still there. Has it ever been uttered, that fat bastard Cage, all he does is come here and eat the pepperoni pizza? He doesn't realize what goes into this night, and he just gets to go home, and I'm here cleaning this up, and I got to put this all together. People don't realize what goes into it. Or do you really just, you sit there and say, you know what? If I didn't love this, there's no way I'd be dedicating as much time and money and effort and resources into this. But I love it.
It's love. I don't think personally I'm very lucky that I'm sometimes or most of the times not the person that has to maybe do that level of labor, Cage. And when we can, we try to go out of our way to hire more staff. So it's a little bit less on the people, but it's love. I think if you only look at the element of a trade night or an event as that element, yeah, it sucks. But if you look at it as that's the vegetables for the dessert, kind of in a weird way, that's what it needs to be. I think also Bleecker's our temple, and to us we treat it sometimes like your mom's basement, to be fair. But
Zach Wilson's mom.
You heard it. Oh, you beat me to it. I was gonna make a Zach Wilson joke. God damn it, you beat me.
I always forget when I come on who I'm talking to.
Oh, that was awesome, Andrew. Nice job. Nice job.
Look, I'll say this as I always say it, Andrew. Until once someone else does it and they do it well, and you don't, and we don't need to be the people doing it. It's not interesting to us anymore. So I do think when we take a step back, Jacob, Jess, the team, even the Cards and Coffee NYC folks, and we look around and we say, wow, just by putting out the right mix of people or the right offering on the right time, look at what showed up and look at where art and science kind of merged. And look at what we kind of created. And yeah, when you're cleaning it up or dealing with the last few people that are done trading but enjoying maybe some extra free drinks, that sometimes is a little less, feels unappreciative. But I think when you go on social media that night too, and you see the amount of people talking about it and the love you get and the Bleecker hats, more importantly, what I always measure at my day job at Cogent, when someone takes a photo from Bleecker trade night and uploads that to their profile pic, whether that's on Instagram or Clubhouse, and that's that static moment. That's kind of the win. So yeah, there's those moments, but like I said, I think watching art and science kind of converge, that always gives me excitement.
Mark, it's a great one, right? So two things. It's almost like Gallagher's Meat Locker, right? The steakhouse in the city, right? People take their pictures in front of it. Bleecker's become that. Okay, here's it. I'm going to make it my page. I'm going to make it the whole deal, right? So, but what you're saying without saying it is you want to move it forward. It doesn't necessarily have to be you, but when you opened Bleecker, that was missing. The hangout, it's our temple, right? But it's the place for people to come, hang out, open cards, have some food, a cool spot, right? It was something that was missing. There was nobody there. But National Treasure Series, and I got to tell you, right? Your name is one we circled on the calendar for talking about because we've had you on after shows, and you are honest. And the honesty comes from you find a space that's missing in the hobby and you fill it. You make it better. You bring your branding to it. You bring fun to it. And we've talked to you after the Chicago National. We've talked to you after East Coast shows. We've talked to you about missing trade nights. This needs to come into the future. So you've now been knee deep in cards, not just from Bleecker, but from going to shows, going to the National Chicago, you name it. What do you think about Atlantic City, right? What do you think about some of the changes, the upgrades? What do you think? Give us, I'll even mute myself here, which I don't like to do, but tell me some good stuff. Tell me some bad stuff. Tell me things that you thought were a step in the right direction from what you've seen. Tell me things where you're like, wow, they took a step backwards on this. How about some companies that were doing things well? Let's hear it, man, because people love hearing from you.
I appreciate that. Like I said, I love talking to you guys because not only is it an honest convo, but I do feel people hear it. So it's a good time to get there. I think if you look back at what hurt me the most at the National last year was no carpet.
What the fuck is with this carpet? You guys are get in shape. Please get in shape, guys.
No, it ain't about shape, dog. It's about steps. Check your Apple phone. Check your steps, and then let's battle. Okay. You want to box on steps? Let's count. And we can talk about steps as a whole. But the corporate sponsors had carpet.
I don't get it.
And when you recognize women in the hobby, you don't think they're wearing the same type of footwear we are? So I think overall, I'm going to use that really more.
Depends. It's a wide range. That's a wide range.
I'm saying using that as a theme of the hobby trying to make itself better and where that's coming from as well. And so I think when you look at what I loved about Atlantic City and where I see the opportunities, Cage, and some of those elements, I don't think we need to talk about Atlantic City. I think when you look at calendars, we'll never be in Atlantic City again. Between Chicago and then Cleveland, you don't even have to worry. You don't even have to complain. The life will work itself out easy enough. We'll never be in Atlantic City again. So move on from there. We know we need a national where the hotels are simple, set up for trade nights, walkable, easy food, and safety. Chicago brings that. We know that Cleveland's going to bring that. The national will continue to get better, blah, 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 blah.
Someone from Chicago owes Mark a check. Someone in the government there, someone in their tourism board for just combining Chicago and safety in the same sentence. Nice job.
I'll combine. Well, look at where we are in Chicago.
Remember, the show is not in exactly. It's not really
Rosemont. So Rosemont is this. Okay, the distance from my hotel and the simplicity of Rosemont and Cleveland and other cities. We just know that a casino, as fun as that is out there, and I've heard the conversations you guys have been having, does that add, does that take away? We just know it's not what we need. As counting steps.
I don't know. In Chicago, people were all about rivers. People were all about going to the casino there. But I'll tell you why it's not safe.
But I don't need,
right? So
forget about safety. I don't need to go through the casino and walk 1,000 yards to get to a cab. That's all I'm getting at. Go gamble all you want. That's
Listen, why Chicago proper was dangerous was Andrew was out there looking for food and unable to get it, and you didn't want to run into a hungry Andrew out there in the street.
And we can have the pizza debate all day long. I'll go there with you. Is it really pizza? I'm down. I'm down. I go to Chicago almost once a week for my day job, so we can go there. I think what the biggest thing to talk about at the National, there's a lot of little things. Trust me. What I liked, what I didn't, who I thought who gets their flowers. We'll go there. The biggest thing that I'm hearing that relates to anything I have interest in is the corporate sponsors, the amount of space that they got. I think what excited me was how well they were built out. Start with Zero Cool and go down. Every corporate sponsor is stepping their game up. But the footprint of the show for next year, the way that the show was split up this year, that you had to walk through the corporate sponsors to get to another set of dealers. If I'm a corporate sponsor, I love it. If you're me counting steps, it sucked. So when we look at what's going to happen to the National, in a good way, well, talking to the dealers that I was buying from that went to their lottery and were told, sorry, you're on a wait list now because what I hear, they're expanding the corporate sponsorship footprint. I'm not a big Whatnot partner. We don't do really anything with Whatnot at Bleecker, but I'll start with giving them the flowers at the National. I mean, when I walked around on Monday and Tuesday and saw what was coming from them, thank God, that was incredible. I have my own feeling on what the Breaker situation is and all that, but step aside, big flowers to them. Big flowers to Collectible. Really don't do any interaction with them. But at the same time, they had stuff going every night to make this National feel. So on a flip side, like corporate deserves something. They deserve something more. The chatter is, where's the card show? Where does that go? What happens to some of these dealers that are so cool when you only go to East Coast shows to then go meet and that are coming over from all over the country? So I'm looking at that biggest element of, where do these dealers shift to? What does the National turn to? We've all heard about Mint, how Mint did well in certain buckets, but was maybe missing in other buckets. There's a lot of talk now that maybe Mint really brings in those type of dealers and expands in that category. There's talk about a lot of ways to maybe do something earlier, and people are relating back to the fashion world with Magic and Agenda and ASR. I know that we're not the people to solve it. What I said was, if anybody wants to do a dealer-specific type of National that's just dealer-focused, we would put $100,000 up to help support that and get that off the ground. But we know we can't run it. We don't have the dealer network. We don't have any of that. We know, Cage, to your point, how to put a little bit of light on an area that there could be some opportunity. Now, for me, where did I spend most of my time at the National? On the second floor with those corporate sponsors, taking meetings. Because to your point, the only way Bleecker survives, especially this day and age, is with corporate participation and support. So I'm very thankful that brands like Zero Cool are doing what they're doing with the way that they've set the bar now. You want to come into the National as a brand, that's what you're looking at. You can't go do a 10 by 10. I'm very thankful that you saw Jimmy's, the Kentucky Roadshow booth. The way they took it from, hey, this is to get people together and let's meet and talk. Not just about selling cards, but they really kind of reset that tone. I'm trying to rip off the golden motif. Obviously, I'm trying to get some sponsorship love from them with all the green in my background.
Mark, if sponsors are listening, right, whether that's a DraftKings, who's interesting, who we see there, I think that's a gambling into cards is an interesting sponsorship.
I agree with you.
If it's whoever, if it's a marketplace, it's an auction house, a grading company, what could they do if they're listening to this episode to support what you guys have going on with Bleecker?
I think it's less about, look, with Bleecker, there's so much to dive into, and I don't want to really make it too focused about Bleecker. I think it's more about where they can support the hobby and where Bleecker can be a vessel for them. For example, the trade nights that did or didn't happen. I think there's opportunities to do maybe more bespoke versions of a trade night, maybe something more for higher end. I also think what Card Ladder and Christina brought to us with the layover event. Obviously in Chicago, you may not need a shuttle to get people back and forth, but really doing something hobby industry specific the night before is kind of a wide open space. So I'd say really more of how to make those elements connect through the entire hobby. A certain part where we know how to connect with a certain level of consumer in the hobby. And that's very niche. I think, if you looked at, though, maybe that second floor of the National, maybe that's a way for a brand to come in and say, we're going to buy that out and give that to all those other dealers. And then make sure that these dealers get enough room. we've yet to hear a brand say, I'm going to give my corporate space to make it for 10 dealers and make it a marketplace of something of those sorts. So I think it's less about what they can do at Bleecker. I think we do enough to make the Bleecker experience, very compelling. And, big shout to Mo and Dan and the crew at Cards and Coffee NYC, because we were struggling to get support for trade nights. Believe it or not, you would think that would be the easiest sponsorship to get. But finally, they just tapped us and said, let us pay for it. Let us just keep that continuum going. For us, it's really tapping into us to understand how to make those experiences that you're already doing a lot more fruitful. And we are getting a good response. We are getting a good response on that. A lot of that stuff, Cage, is behind the scenes. So you don't hear too much about some of that.
I didn't even know there was a second floor. 99% of the people listening are like, what the hell second floor? What is going on the second floor? Andrew, were you on the second floor?
Just when I was being chased away by the security guards there's no capacity at Card Collector 2's trade night.
Yes, that was the only time we went to the second floor. Was the trade night was up there, and we were told the fire warden's here. You can't get in there.
Cage was getting whippy too.
Yeah. Well, in Chicago, there's a second floor that goes underutilized. So I just think that when you look at where the opportunities are, there's going to be this big collision of corporate sponsorship. I want them in the hobby. I think we all want them in the hobby. I think the experiences are awesome. And then how do we make sure we're still servicing the collector? Because I do think what makes the National special is the treasure hunting. And going up to these booths and finding cards you've never seen before or items or something. Look, from our table, I brought a lot of our type 1s. We partnered with Just Collect, opening up their store in New Jersey our next month, and we decided to bring out some of our best photos. I brought my entire Jordan collection, but the ones that actually sold were Johnny Cash, Jerry Rice, Randy Macho Man Savage, all the off the beaten path ones. And I have a fear that the National may lose some of that as they start putting some of the smaller dealers or more, again, off the beaten path dealers on the wait list. So curious where they go. But otherwise, I thought it was very exciting.
Mark, I have an idea. Segmenting it. Like, because we were in Atlantic City, this was the idea that I had. And obviously, I'm not in charge of anything. But I'd love to know, you're a marketing guru. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on it. You walk through a casino and there's there's a high roller slot room. There's a separate segment for each one of these things. And we've kind of seen that, right? We had the Bleecker Pavilion in Chicago last year. But I think really if I were to set it up, the corporate had one little segment. But what was tough for me was, all right, you had the breakers there, but then there were some tables with the breakers. And then you had tables, some modern, then there were corporate guys who were in the corporate. And then they also had a separate booth where corporate had their second ancillary booth and the whole deal. Why not have, the National, I would think in order to preserve it should say, all right, bare minimum 20%, 25% of tables in this segment here, the front left corner, the back right, whatever it is. These are people who have had tables, their own tables for 10 plus years, 20 plus years, whatever it is. That's going to preserve the card show, the vintage side, these guys. And maybe, those guys are fixed in their prices, whatever it is. It's not corporate price, the whole deal. And they, in order to get the table out the sign, they're not going to sublet it. They're not, they're not releasing it. They're not going to give it to me and Andrew or somebody who's going to come in and not do that treasures, those stamps, those pictures, that kind of stuff. I think maybe they do it that way and they 25%. And then maybe there's, a 10% that's just high-end cards. Like you're going to come, you have a smaller table, right? But you're only able to set up, 200 cards or 50 cards, whatever it is, nothing less than 10,000. You have kind of a millionaire's row, like the Diamond District Andrew was talking about when we talked about this, right? And you have the corporate section.
Sometimes I don't even know if you listen, but it makes me feel very good about my thoughts when you listen to me.
It's also easier for you to figure it out, right? If you're going there looking for high-end cards, you know where you're going to go. I waste a lot of time meandering around these shows, not knowing where the hell I am.
So there's a lot of good talk around technology coming into the hobby, and we see it a lot on these pricing apps. I do believe that maybe not the next National, but the National after, you will have an app that kind of shows you where the cards are at what table. I agree. It should be a lot easier to organize it a little bit better. I imagine there's some dealers that sell everything, wax, vintage, this and that. But historically, in the back of that show where you get certain things, in the front of the show where you get more of the vintage guys, I think that it would just be wiser if they looked at the properties around Chicago and said, where can we get more ancillary space? Can we get a ballroom at the Sheraton across the street and put 50 dealers there, but bring an eBay or an alt in to program it and make it somewhere to be? So, yeah, you are going to leave the show floor and you can go there and hit some ancillary boots. I just think that there's got to be a solution. I'm hoping someone comes up with it.
I'm not sure it's going to be all, if I can be honest with you, but that's for another time. I like what you're doing there. You're slipping some stuff in. I can't believe we've gone 20 minutes. You haven't mentioned Cigar Night, even though you were all up in Cage's DMs, like, hey, let me get an invite. Let me get an invite.
He was invited.
How I feel. You know how I feel. You know how I feel. I feel very.
I don't. You've never told me how you feel.
Stop it. I've never told you on air how we feel. We had this real honest discussion. So you're doing your Letterman, and I appreciate it. But at the end of the day, no, I was very, very envious when I saw that because I thought that you guys absolutely capitalized and captured that moment. I'll tell you the funniest thing for me was, one, the kit that I saw, I was blown away by. I thought it was really good. It really made it feel like it wasn't just you got a cigar. But what was funny to me the next day, the amount of people I knew that sold those cards. And made some money at the show. So, no, look.
We gave legit cards out. We gave legit stuff to people. They're selling cards and they're doing stuff. I mean, it is what it is.
Again, like,
what's the point of giving away junk?
Yeah.
But shout to Collectible, though, because they allowed us, like, I would have been conflicted. If there was an event here, event there, you guys, I would have had to bounce around. Atlantic City's not the place to bounce around. I thought that bringing in your element is something that I hope I get to go to more of these cigar nights and I don't have to wait for the national. I hope a brand steps up and says, we're going to produce 6 of these. One's going to go to Dallas. One's going to go to Atlanta for a culture. One's going to go to the Mint. That's 3 right there we can count on, right? What does it cost? $5-10 grand to produce a fucking cigar night? Excuse me. $5-10 grand to produce a cigar night? Like, it was the coolest element. And, Goldberg, you brought up DraftKings before. That's the crossover of the hobby that gets me excited. I don't mind cleaning up till 3 a.m. after Hulu does their Wu-Tang premiere at Bleecker, or when Call of Duty does their print release with us. It's seeing those elements come to life that get me excited. And so I think that's where, when you say, what can a brand do to help? Do things like that. I don't care if they do them with Bleecker or not. Make those shows more compelling, because I'm just calling it out. If Collectible did say they were going to do that at 3 different card shows that year, and eBay is also at that show, eBay's got to step up. Alt's got to step up, and maybe I get a call to step them up. But last year at the National, the only brand that brought it was eBay. It was the first time we felt like we had a booth like South by or E3, something like really, really cool. And the way they did that continuum with ski, and I didn't get the cards, was awesome. The coolest thing eBay did, though, which is still the biggest miss at the National, was the bag. Every time you go to a convention, they give you a bag. It's a big old bag. You walk around, you get a bunch of free stuff, stickers, isn't this? We don't do that at the National. Carpet, bags, there's no real, concern. And eBay not only did it, they did it with the cool IKEA-looking bag. It was dope. I had to write them because I really wanted one. I didn't get one after when I was there.
I gotta tell you, bro, the more I get to know you, you're a simple guy. A bag and carpet, and this guy is happy for life. Here I want continental breakfast with like these perfect little scones and high-end coffee.
I take care of. I could take care of myself. The simple things just set me up. And I'll be fine. But look, I think the National is a real event now. I did find some amazing fun cards that I could never find. We did not sell and do deals at the level we did last year. We also had a tenth of the inventory. But people were busy and people were having fun and people were meeting. And I think, what we like to see at Bleecker, when people meet at Bleecker and then business happens. And so the national was like one big convergence of that coming to life. I think if we can focus on how to make those experiences show up in between the next national and also show up at places like the Super Bowl and the NBA All-Star Game and South by and Art Basel, and we celebrate it, that I think brings the hobby forward. To me, like a dream client would be a brand that helped me bring arena design to Art Basel, right?
Okay.
Like, why wouldn't arena design be developing the next Grey Goose bottle or, Budweiser campaign around MLB All-Star, things like that.
Arena design. What do you know their Instagram handle? Because I know a lot of people don't follow them, but it's a mother, and I don't want to butcher this, but I was just on
I'll get it wrong. Yeah, I'll get it wrong too. So I don't want to butcher.
Just to give people context, though, it's they've designed some of the nicest cards out there, like '90s inserts. Just incredible design, incredible vision. Cage is rolling his eyes. I wanted Popcorn to make sure he gets a few words in. He didn't like my scone comment, my coffee.
The scone's definitely not. No, because
you're not a scone guy.
No, because you're at a national, you're at a card show, and everyone enjoys less stress on their feet, and everyone enjoys a gift bag that is card relevant. But maybe 4 people and you want a scone
and coffee.
No,
coffee,
I will say the food options.
Coffee's
the food options.
Scones.
Food options. I don't see a solution for in Chicago either. Big shout to White House subs, but you couldn't bring them on the national floor, so that was stupid.
Couldn't bring anything on the national floor. Andrew tried. He brought donuts, and we wanted to give
we just got a big bag and told him to fuck off the next 3 days. It was much easier. But
I have a question for you. How much credit do you take for Jess's ascension in the hobby?
All of it.
You can't take any credit for that, because you gotta look at her as an individual before you look at any type of brand or any type of partnership. And yes, Bleecker is a good platform, but I can't take anybody and just go do that. And if you could, you can probably do something that's compelling, but absolutely different. And I think if you look around the hobby at how people have done it and how people have got there, they've all been on similar ascensions and different levels. They've just gone about it differently. I think what you got to look at for Bleecker is look at some of the rooms we got to sit in. eBay liked us, but they weren't putting this face on camera. If you look at the opportunities we got with Jackass and you look at them coming into the store without having that right person, we may not want to have gone live. We may have pivoted our activations a little bit differently. So, we're very excited that we have somebody that's been able to rock with our brand and let's call it stay in the boxing ring with us. Everything we've been able to do, she's been able to show up and help elevate.
Except for the cigar night.
Harder.
Yeah,
except for the cigar. I don't know why I didn't know if she was there or not. I don't control that. But my point is it's a lot. It's just as hard to run with Michael Jordan than it is to be Michael Jordan, right? And I'm not calling us Michael. I don't want to say it again because it probably
say it again. Come on.
It's just as hard to run with Michael Jordan as it is to be Michael Jordan. This is what he said.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
So, you can say a lot of things like, any way you want to look at it, it doesn't matter. If she wasn't where she was and able to do it, the platform we had, I can give you 30 other content creators that could not run with what we've put out. So what would it matter? In my opinion,
I asked it in a way. Here's the context of that: is you see someone who we had her on our show, and I might be butchering her story, but small business girl, like selling tomatoes with her family, took a leap of faith, got into the hobby, and to see in 2 years her head down, work hard, and now she goes to national and she's recognized everywhere. That was cool. So it was very complimentary, and I hope it came off as such.
No, it's very sometimes funny because we'll hang out and people will say things to her. Oh, I saw you do this, or you do this, and she'll actually pivot it the other way and say, "Yeah, Bleeker's been able to do this, been able to do that," and it's flattering to work with somebody that recognizes that there's a brand and a mothership, and between what Jacob does, what the rest of the team has done to get here. It's hard to not look at that and realize that it takes every single element, and even just you guys, right? Like you guys recognizing her as someone, in the hobby, and putting her on that platform, that helps us in a lot of ways when we continue to go through our conversations with our corporate partners. So I appreciate that you recognize how much she's been able to take it and run with it. I'll just tell you this: it's hard. If I could quote unquote make another one, we'd have 10. You guys, do content every day, and that scares the living hell out of me. I think what she's been great at, if you look at her brand evolving, Andrew, she was really that like breaker content creator, and has now slowed down into more corporate, a little bit pickier about what she does and how she goes about it. And she's realizing, hey, I could do a lot with my time, right, and maximize it, as best as possible.
In the beginning, you say yes to everybody because you got like nothing, right? You're like, I don't know what's behind this door, so I got to open as many doors as possible. Then it gets to the point where it's like, wait, maybe opening one door is better than opening 100 doors. Cage is really good at that. I opened 99 doors. He opened the door to Cigar Night, and voila.
Well, if I have a crew, we each have a crew of 100 people, right? We roll deep. I got Biggie and his crew over there with Bad Boy.
I roll with Austin and Jake.
You're rolling with, Suge Knight and the crew out there, Death Row.
Suge's an asshole.
Right? But here's the thing. Like my God. Just go with the story. Dick. Son of a bitch.
You son of a
bitch. So that we each get 100 guys. You try to knock on 100 doors. And you have to spread your 100-person army out and one guy at each door. It's not as impressive as when I find the right door and bring all 100 of my guys with me into one door. That's a different way of doing business. That's all.
Both strategies, though, you'd say, sometimes are needed. I think when we opened Bleecker, we had to bring everybody in and do an event, do an experience, do a partnership with them. But now we step back a little and say, is that labor worth it? Is that effort worth it? Could we do fewer? Could we do bigger?
Yeah.
Could we do better?
Here's the thing, though. Andrew figures out which door we're supposed to bring the stuff through. So, right. You need a little bit of both. Mark. But here's what's fun, right? So pivot it, right? Pivot it away from business, national, corporate. How do you strike the right balance, Mark? Because you're now up in meetings on the second floor and you're meeting with eBay. You're doing all these stuff, right? So what would you say to the folks out there who are a little bit nervous, right? They want the card show. They want the national to stay a card show. Do we say, too bad, so sad? This is where the money is. Or do we say to them, listen, ultimately that balance will be there. But you need this money to come in. You need this corporate stuff to come in because that's what's going to expand this whole thing. It already has started. What do you say to those folks?
It's more Jack Nicholson. It's more not you need me on this wall. You want me on this wall.
Colonel Nathan R. Jessup.
Look, here's the thing, Cage. It's coming. The money's coming, whether you want it or need it. It's coming. The national will get more corporate. Will be more sponsor driven. You need more people like
Colonel
us.
Jessup, right? He ordered that code red, but here's the problem: why that doesn't work in the hobby, right? The hobby's a lot of people, and we hold the people out there making the decisions accountable. At least we try to. We want to have input in it. And what people forget is after that line where he says, "You want me on that wall? You need me on that wall." He finishes up by saying, "How dare you question the security? How dare you sleep under a blanket of security that I provide?" But then question the manner in which I provide it.
Okay, got it.
I'd rather you just say thank you and be on your way. But either way, I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to. Here's the thing. The hobby has been here before Colonel Jessup showed up with his blanket, right? We're able to we want to say, no, we're questioning how you're doing it. We're questioning what you're doing. You're now encroaching too much with the corporate area onto the card show, right? So the hobby's not just going to let Colonel Jessup say, you want me on that wall, I'm on the wall. We know they're coming, But how do we make sure that those eBays and the whatnots and the zero cools are at least listening to the hobby Joe Schmoes like me?
I'm not sure what Cage is talking about, but it sounded like an incredible point right there. That was a mic drop for me.
It's the right point, but the missing element to that, Cage, that missing point of that argument is the hobby's not paying the bill.
That's right. It's true.
So if I run Rosemont National Center, whatever the hell, the convention center, if I am the city,
the Spence,
I don't care what the hobby.
Right?
I don't care what the hobby thinks. You mean to tell me this consortium of people who run the national? I know there's new people XYZ, but it doesn't matter. You mean to tell me that 10, 20 companies are going to write these checks and build this experience? We as collectors, we may not like it, but enough people are going to show up with a $10 admission and walk around and go to this trade show. And you think Panini care? They're not selling enough, or forget about Panini. You think Zero Cool and Gold, they're not selling enough. It's branding to them.
Yeah.
So so I do think, to your point, if the hobby's not going to take it, then we need
Mark. But I guess where I'm going with this, right, is you're in the meetings with these guys, right? And I understand it's all about branding, and it's you name it. But one of the few things that Andrew has said on the show that initially I was like, this guy, he's got to stop with this crap. Corporations have a job, and the job is to make money for their shareholders. Companies need to maximize the bottom line. It's black and white and the whole deal. But one of the things he said was corporate responsibility. And the more he's mentioned it, the more we've talked about it, the more I've listened to him and had conversations about the National. Yeah, it's not going to be the people who are in charge of the National who care about this. And you're right. A lot of these corporations, they come in, they care about their bottom line. But I think Andrew's point about corporate responsibility is, can the eBays of the world realize that, yes, they'll make their money, yes, they'll brand, but maybe we make sure we carve out a little bit of something for the common man. Maybe we realize our position in the world as this corporate brand. We're going to do something and make sure we're taking the hobby, average Joe into account. Or do they just like, who cares? Like, just
it's actually good business. It might not be good business 1 month out, but 1 year, 6 years, 10 years, it's actually, in my opinion, good business.
But let me agree with you. Let me agree with you there, Andrew. All of these companies want that. They want to be here for the longevity of the hobby. They want to do right by the hobby. They don't know.
They just don't know how.
Walk around and meet. No. Walk around. I'm sure you did. Meet all the people at those companies. How many of them come from the hobby? A very small percentage. So it's not that they have bad intentions. They just don't know. So what I've been trying to do is help maybe learn a little bit more about these issues, spread that mantra a little bit. And it's going to take more of that communication across the board to get them to realize, hey, there's other opportunities. But right now, if you're corporate America, and this is what breaks my heart, if you're corporate America, go back to all of corporate America, maybe besides like alt and whatnot. But if your business isn't 1,000% cards, what's your next event? The National. That to me is broken. So there needs to be more opportunities, and the corporations need to challenge each other. We need to continue to challenge them, Cage, to say, hey, you need to do that. If I'm putting on a show like the folks in Dallas, what I understand about them, they're not very corporate friendly. Okay, can we embrace that as a hobby and ask them to maybe help expand to other cities, or maybe they can do something the same week as the National? I mean, you hear a lot of ways.
Is PWCC corporate?
I would assume so.
Right, and they're at every show. And they started as a tech platform, and now they're super heavy into service. They have like 20 people now that are like service reps or, pre-sale or post-sale that are like, okay, we have the best tech, hands down in the hobby. I think they have the best tech. Now we're going to add on service. Basically, if you want to sell, if you want to vault, we have a representative that we will dedicate to your account to help you out. That to me I love that.
And getting to know Eric Myers on Clubhouse over the last years totally changed
Clubhouse. I love it. Clubhouse better sponsor trade night.
Clubhouse has no money. It's a dumpster fire. What are you talking about? I light it. I got a Bleecker garbage can there. Trust me. No,
Did you
look, I think
gave you a shout out, Zablow? We had Lefko on the show. He gave you a shout out. He said you
gave me a beautiful shout out, and right as he did, you just killed it and moved on. It was beautiful.
That's what we do.
You didn't even recognize the shout out. You just killed it and moved on.
I'm a young Letterman in training. I'm not 50 years in.
You know
50
what?
years in, I would have let that roll.
I imagine you're sitting there being like, I have Zablow on to say whatever he wants at any point. The last thing I need to do is hear Lefko give him flowers. So I respect that, Andrew.
You're a mentor for me. I appreciate you very much.
Dude, again, you won. Oh, by the way, one of the nicest moments at the National was hearing a conversation with the V Friends crew. I'm not going to name drop, but we all know who's in that from top to bottom. And asking what were some of the better performing collectible driven booths at VCon. And we heard a lot about what happened with that Mark Zuckerberg card that was about to come out, that was sold through Vincent.
You know, they came to our booth to buy that. They asked if we want to buy that card.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But we were talking about a lot of those different moments. We talked about Rally. Obviously, they had an incredible thing. There were some other booths that sold out. But the conversation at who won, and I hate to use it because it's not a competition, but it is, who won was really you. At VCon, really the genius of being the only table selling V Friends. And you got to give Gary a shout out too for the National. They put him in the corner, right? He went around to different dealers and set up signs that said V Friends back here. But for $25, you got to open a pack of cards, take a picture, maybe get an autograph. And your table, you saw how much those autographs were selling for. But when Gary did his meet and greets and your table was right there, it really got a lot of attention. It's like, wow, so smart. And also I think in our minds, it really helped validate V Friends a little of, hey, look at that market and where that goes. So I think when you combine that, you combine what you guys did with the cigar night, it's exciting to see it. But Cage, if brands don't get behind those type of things, then it's not going to happen. You can't do 6 of those without funding. I'm sure you want to, and I know you want to support, all your community but same thing with us. I would argue that the more that we push on the show promoters to either work with these brands to deal with the dealers, it'll be forgotten. The dealers will stay local. And, the shows will just get more corporate, which is cool in one way. I like looking for Don Russ Elite cards right now. So I'm not going to find that as much.
I got a Burrow Elite. Real quick for Luca Nation, just so you guys know kind of the origin of why we even created the NFT is to cut out that corporation, right? Not that we don't need them, but going direct to consumer, to you guys and saying, hey, this is what we want to do. If you believe in us, if you believe in our mission, please support. Then, in turn, they're financing those amazing experiences like Cigar Night.
I got a message yesterday from somebody who minted a Tiger yesterday and just said, listen, just love what you guys are doing. This was not a lot of money. It's my way of saying, thanks for all the content. I mean, and that's amazing.
If I was smart enough to do that on an NFT side, like if I knew how to actually speak NFT, I would love to figure that out.
Cage called me. He's like, "Hey, let's do an NFT. I know we could do a lot for our community." I'm like, "All right, let me find the guy."
Yeah,
okay, he's gonna steal 13K. No problem. Sign us up. Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah,
wait, how do we get money out of the contract to use it? Wait, I don't know. Let me call 100 people.
This is what we do. We just do it and then figure it out after.
Is it?
But I'd argue it's a lot of work to maintain it.
It's a
commitment.
It's a lot of work to be overweight. It's a lot of work to be in shape. You could pick your work, but it's actually a lot of work.
Mark, it depends what you're into it for, right? So we really plan to be, doing this podcast every day until Andrew puts me in a casket. Or I
give
put
you
him
guys
in.
so much credit.
And
with my call of recruiting.
with his call,
we need a recruit.
Guess what we need to do today, Cage? And I'm like, a podcast? No, I got 50 other things on a list. No,
but to the hobby's credit, you have how many partners now? I know you don't want to say it, but you have more than a handful of partners.
3,
really,
4.
really.
We say it every week. We have a show dedicated to them. Like we have PWCC. We do the weekly auctions every Saturday. Talk about what cards I like.
Collectible.
Jacob texted me about the Flair Showcase Kobe on there. So we do a weekly show for PWCC, a collectible show that we did so well apparently that we get $1,000 now, and we're investing it with our Luca Nation community.
I have my we're doing that. We're investing $1,000 and letting our crew, our listeners pick what we're going to invest in the collectible space, and we're going to let it grow hopefully through national and use that as a budget for an event at national.
We have
We'll see what we
SGC
do.
grading, Zablow,
SGC?
where everyone who had a Tiger got 3 to 5 free submissions. And we have Whatnot, where we do a show.
Football.
We do a football show every Sunday during football season, giveaways, box breaks, all that stuff. And now I have a Saturday show where we sell slabs and stuff like that.
And we have several other people who want to be in business with us that we're
That's
mulling over. But that is it. That's it. I mean, and we wear it out there. I mean, there's nothing else hidden there. PWCC, collectible, weekly episodes. You're going to start seeing the football episode again with Whatnot. And SGC, which obviously you can see that at the end of every episode. I mean, we do not hide from it. We used to have a deal with you.
So where are we missing? Where's the hole?
Where's the fifth?
Where can we? No, yeah, we need one. Where's it?
So, Mark, we're not looking.
But what category? Forget about that. What category is open? Let's just talk binary. What's even
Fantasy
open?
football, DraftKings and FanDuel would be a cool one.
I like that. When do you think we start seeing some of those folks coming into the hobby?
Andrew sat next to DraftKings
us.
at an event at Collectible and started that conversation.
I would argue that
she wants to
most
talk on the
breakers,
phone, but she's in Jersey and I'm in Boca, and I'm like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like,
invite her to trade night, August 30th at Bleecker.
There you go.
I'll FaceTime you there. I'll represent you in the deal.
DraftKings. Yeah, I mean, listen, the brands are clearly there, right?
I think gambling needs to come in because breakers and gambling, it's these people, it's the same.
Let us have it. Early in the episode, Zablow does this. We've had one a few times. This is my favorite, one of my favorites, because he just tells it how it is from his heart, but he's also self-aware to know he doesn't know everything, but he knows the things he knows. You said early in the episode, breakers, we'll get into that. That's a whole nother thing. There's no time like the present, Mark.
Well, read between the lines. What is Fanatics doing? Gambling?
Yeah.
Right? If
hold
on. Let's just go conspiracy theory. Pretend we're on Clubhouse and light the dumpster fire. Look at Backyard Breaks. You seem to know them.
Yeah.
I seem to have known them. We had them on the show. I still haven't gone to their facility. I will.
We both know that they come from a content creation background more than a hobby background. Is that correct?
They don't even know anything about cards. I need to teach Grant how to crack cards because it's chaos right now what he's doing.
But they got the biggest eyeballs outside of maybe like a Mamba and some other stuff like that. And it's very arguable that 90% of their audience is gambling on sports.
Yes.
To me,
There's definitely a tie-in.
So I'm not saying there's a deal with Backyard and Fanatics. I know zero about that, but I'm just saying, look at the semantics. Look at Fanatics leading the way, putting gambling on the map. You look at the people they've brought over, the people they've hired, where all of this starts to merge. And then you look at where our hobby makes money. Right
Fanatics put gambling on the map?
They've put gambling on their roadmap. Yes.
They have.
Yeah, absolutely. Fanatics is launching a gambling platform.
Yeah.
Did you know this, Cage?
Yeah. They put like trademarks out
It's
there.
Very, very public. It's not like this isn't like I learned it one late night at Bleecker. This is just me looking at
I didn't
between
know.
the lines. Yeah.
And is it going to be like a DraftKings, a FanDuel, or is it going to be like...
They don't know yet. They don't. It's preliminary. I mean, you'll see what the landscape is like there. I mean, you saw Penn just completed their Barstool, and I mean, it's so cool.
And you think through their app is where you'd have a breaker as like another option of, hey, you can gamble on sports?
I don't think they know that yet. but I'm sure they have
I
some
think
ideas.
I think they've realized it's the same customer. And I think that they've realized one way to get those, maybe not them, but I think there's one way to get those customers, maybe correlating it with their breaking accounts, maybe realizing that, hey, this can be merged into one big pool of things. If you're DraftKings, wouldn't that make sense to have that money sitting in the account being used across multiple quote unquote gambling activities?
I see. You just won big on your like parlay or whatever it is, and you're like, hey, I want to break a pack of Prism.
You have one big account. Money can flow.
Mark, I got a question for you. I'm just putting myself into the shoes of a listener or a watcher if you're on YouTube or whatever it is, right? You came in a couple years ago because there was an explosion in the hobby. A lot more interest came in. You found a place to really, there was a void, and you filled it better than probably anybody could have. And you read the tea leaves. And we've spent the better part of this episode talking about where the hobby is headed, right? The corporate involvement, expansion, fanatics, all this big money, all these, you name it. But I think, if I'm allowed here, what caused all of this corporate money to come in was the expansion of the hobby. The amount of participants who came into the hobby in 2018, 2019, 2020, this explosion of money that was being spent by the consumer themselves, right? And sure, a lot of that isn't breaking, and that's corporate want to get into that, fanatics want to get into that. But a large segment of people listening to this, they're listening and they're saying, wow, this hobby sounds weird. It's not what I came in for in 18, 19, and 20. It's fanatics trying to squeeze as much money out of it as they can. It's zero cool building boots. What about the guys who are just trying to collect cards? I mean, should they leave because they don't want to be on an all-in-one fanatics app that's going to steer them towards gambling their money? Or is the answer, Mark, that as it grows, it's better for everyone?
It's there's one thing that came into the hobby that's really been the change, which is technology. For better and for worse. And so, yes, a lot of people that came in 18, 19, 20, or came in 20, 21, 22, they came in to make money. And the hobby was very broken in a weird way. You had a lot of quote unquote shill bidding, and you had a lot of questionable things and grading things. Technology is making all of that go away. It's really making it a better, more trusted product. So from one aspect, you can count on the hobby a little bit more in terms of what you're buying, not to get scammed. My Slabs really broke that barrier down with the way that they had started verifying sellers. And that was the only way to get on the platform. On the flip side, when you look at the access, right? I'm a collector of Donruss Elite. This whole technology has democratized the hobby. I can go find, when I say Donruss Elite, I'm talking 92, 93, 94. I can now find that anywhere. There's sites like Hobby Exchange, which is solely dedicated to crawling all the sites to find the items you want to buy. Card Ladder has an amazing feature, but Hobby Exchange is dedicated to it. They don't have the pricing features Card Ladder has, but sometimes I just need to know where I'm going to find a Patrick Ewing 93 first day from Stadium. Like those are the things that I think it's made it better. So I can transact more. I can actually start collecting a set, use my PSA set registry app, figure out where I can get more or what it really means in value, and then find the cards I'm missing. So I do think with all of the hoopla and the good and the bad, corporations are maybe taking up some more of our show space, but we're getting more shows. We're getting better shows. Corporations are definitely trying to capture our money and create all these crazy things in the whatnots and the networks and stuff. But yeah, think about how many cards we get on the cheap because they funded a breaker who's like, hey, I can give away everything for dollar packs today. And now some young kid had a chance to enter the hobby, or someone had a chance to get something that they wouldn't normally get. And then I'd say the biggest thing that we got to count on right now is liquidity. There's collecting and there's trading. And if you can't trade or you can't sell, then you're in a really bad place, Cage. But what happened? Robinhood effect has now shown up in the hobby, right? We have vaults, which means we can day trade. We have lending against our product, which means we can go like on Robinhood and get Robinhood Gold. And now you can go buy on the PWCCs, the Goldens, and all these other sites by having your cards in their vault. I'm so excited for the eBay vault. I can day trade on eBay. The stock market of cards is kind of here.
Sure.
So if you go to the old school mentality, when I got back in the hobby, 18, 19, 20, what I was educated on was you buy in the off season and you sell in the preseason. You make your 20, 30%. Maybe you make it 3-4 times a year. You collect what you love and you stash some grails. Now you can't do that. You buy something, you sell it. You buy something, you sell it. Is it flipping and shilling? No, it's actually sticking with the hobby. There's so much product coming out. As a big wax investor and collector, it goes down every day. Not because the hobby is dropping, because there's so much new releases and the cards inside can't hold it up. But that doesn't mean you can't make money. It just means you have to flip fast. And the technology and tools are all there.
You're absolutely right. Like the Eminence that's coming out of the Eminence boxes that's flooding the market. I guarantee you that Eminence sold on weekly PWCC in 3 weeks might go double what it goes for on eBay, because whether the auction ends at a weird time or sometimes auctions ends on top of each other, which is a very interesting kind of phenomenon. Sometimes happens with Probstein, by the way, where there's 5 of the same type of card, right? And they end in order. So people usually bid up the first 3 or 4, and the 5th one or the 4th one you can get a deal on. So I agree with you. I think it's for someone like me, Cage knows I've been sending him cards like buyer's market. By the way, you're terrible at comping cards. You're so bad. Cage only knows like 10K and up. I sent him a gold vinyl Mahomes yesterday. Pop 1 PSA 10. He's like, it's like what, $200-$300?
I said $300 to $600. But why he says I'm terrible at comping cards is because he paid more than what I say it's worth. And then I send him pictures of the same card selling in a different slab for less than what I comped it at.
You comped my PSA 10 Mahomes.
So what do you use? Yeah. What do you use for comps? Let's talk. What do you use? What's your price tracker?
Let's just do it, and it'll be a great example for you. You can put the card up.
What app do you use?
I'm all over the place. So he shows me a picture of a PSA 10 gold vinyl out of 5. Pop 1 because it's PSA 10, because most people aren't grading this out of 5 garbage. Mahomes Prism 2021 Prism Brilliance, like a subset. So it's a Mahomes 4th year, 5th year Prism subset. Here it is, right? Nice card, great looking card, but yeah, it's a Pop 1. There's not many people looking for this card, right? So he says, what's the comp on this? So obviously it's a Pop 1. I'm not going to find that card anywhere else because it's not going to be a PSA 10. So I look for other gold vinyl Mahomes out of Prism or Optic or whatever else out of 5, the same kind of thing. So I found the Fireworks, which is last year's Prism vinyl, right? I found some raw ones, $400, $450, $500. I send him pictures of those. Then there's one, a Fireworks, a PSA 9, so for $454.
PSA 9.
Dude, it's out of 5. The PSA is irrelevant. And then what I did, Mark, was I found another one of the exact same card. That card. The same one that he sent me in an HGA 9.5. So now you have a comp of the same card. Sure, it's in HGA 9.5. So maybe a PSA 9, maybe a PSA 8, maybe a PSA 8.5. It doesn't make a difference. And I send them a picture of it, and I say, that's $305. Okay, so yours is between $400 and $650. Tell me where I'm wrong. It's the same card. There's 5 of them. An HGA 9.5 sold for $305.
But that's a bigger point. That brings up the biggest question. And I apologize, we skipped over this. My biggest revelation at the National. How many grading companies are there? How many grading prep companies are there? How many grading service companies are there? I was blown away by the amount of different grading companies flourishing.
I get you. Take that HGA, snap it out of the slab, and it probably still sells for the same $300, right? Take it out of the HGA.
Probably sells for $400.
Whatever it sells for, right? But there's 5 of them, right? So yeah, there's one PSA 10 now. Maybe 2 or 3 of them will be PSA 10s. Maybe they won't be. Who knows? I doubled the HGA 9.5 for his PSA 10. And he writes back, you don't know what you're doing with comps. I'm going to sell this for $2,000. which means to me he paid way more than what I comped it at and is mad at me. And all of a sudden, I don't know how to comp. I'm
He's the
sending you the
villain.
same
all
card.
right, time. Andrew, how do you comp it?
He says this is a pretty card. I could sell it for a lot.
Go to so you know we had Chris and Josh on, and we went like data versus feel.
Okay.
Pulse. But I will tell you what I think has made I sell a lot more on Whatnot now, run auctions and make deals. And there's 50 to 200 people in the room, depending. But enough of a sample size. Not a huge, but enough. So I use that as a gut feel of what people are buying and selling. And then I gut, and I also go look at card ladder sale history. Combination of those three things. I'm usually wrong.
Very challenging.
I went to Jacob with I'm usually wrong. I went to Jacob with my Dwayne Wade gold clutch. I'm like, hey,
same card, same kind of card.
Don't go to Jacob. Don't go to
No, he's
Jacob.
like, I don't want this. I have enough Wade. Thank you. Keep
Don't go to
going.
Jacob.
And then Cage and Jacob make a deal in 30 seconds.
If it's not Jackie Robinson rookie or a Jordan Star rookie, don't go to Jacob, right?
He knows his stuff. But anyway, listen, it's actually a very valid point. We've taken this kind of off on a tangent, but part of what makes shows fun or what made the hobby interesting in 17, 18, you name it, was there was that feel. There was that wiggle room. There was that stuff. And we're trading some of that away now with data, with tech. This is what you're saying, Mark. But what I would say to the average Joe collector is, you know what comes with that tech and that data? A little bit more certainty, right? And I know because I've had conversations with venture capitalists, institutional investors, people who have money on the sidelines seeking alpha, Andrew's favorite terminology. And he's right about it, right? And the hobby is a place for that big money to come and seek that alpha. The problem with the hobby has always been, though, feel is not where venture capitalists and institutional investors are coming to put their money. They need data.
But isn't it here? Like, we got Steve Cohen, we got Nat Turner, we got Michael Rubin. Like, we got billions.
What are they
of
doing?
dollars.
What are they doing, though? They're investing in the companies. They're smart. They are the ones that have put money in, hoping that there will be money that comes in for the cards. They're the infrastructure.
So the
Rubin
investment needs to be.
Go ahead.
The investment needs to be made in the customer.
And the product, right? So what's great is, I'm sure when stock trading became, all the rage, right? The money initially came in on the platforms. Take the stock exchange public, buy whatever it may be, buy the Charles Schwabs, invest in those where the pickaxes, you name it. But ultimately, gold had to have some value, right? Ultimately, the stocks had to have some value.
Correct.
There had to be some certainty, the data around the stocks, the trading, the liquidity, all that fun stuff that you already talked about, right? Because that's when the traders come in and use the platforms, they use the stock exchange, they use those platforms, and they trade the assets themselves. Right now, the assets are not exactly defined in cards, right?
So you would almost argue then, like alt, right? If you look at what alt has done, how they went from trying to build a platform, trying to get cards on their platform. They built one of the best price checker products out there, from what I hear. Yet they couldn't get their comps and their sales to actually, to your point, Cage, be gold. Now they've turned that corner, I feel, a little bit. Their comps are real deal. You're not getting the deals that we used to get on alt over the last couple of auctions. It's arguable that they've built that product.
So if you're counting at home, that's 5 mentions of alt by Mark. He's getting $1,000 per. So he's checked the box from Mark for alt. He's going to get that alt money. Money. I'm just kidding, Mark.
I can honestly say this. Wait. I am not currently getting $1 from any company I've mentioned.
Right. But you are getting back rubs from
any
Lefko.
Now, you know what the difference is? I don't even associate Lefko with alt. When's the last time you saw Lefko do anything for alt?
He's a behind-the-scenes strategy.
He's a creative director.
He actually has some very good. He has some very good ideas for them. Listen,
but I'm saying I'm not behind the sscenes with alt. So for me, I don't associate him.
once they didn't make you have to have all of the money up front for whatever you're buying, that changed the whole deal. But I'm beyond that. I'm not talking about one individual card, two individual cards. It's that push and pull between the StockX mentality that if you have a UPC code, you have a barcode, you can make something repeatable, tradable, you name it. That was why the Zion PSA 10 was an interesting phenomenon in cards, right? But then it became too many of them, right? Cards are not that way. Vintage is not that way. Most cards are not that way.
So let's land on that. The biggest call I've got this summer. You want to talk about certainty in the hobby? Parents telling me that they need to get cards to their kids at camp. They don't know what cards are, what to do, what to get. But what do they do? Their kids at camp. There's only a couple weeks left. They got to get them cards. And they need Cade Cunningham, who has no cards all summer, right? Thanks, Panini. So you look at that, right? And now they've all come home from camp. What's the next call I'm getting? I don't get the call, obviously, to sell them boxes because that's cards and coffee. What's the call I get? Hey, my son says his collection is worth XYZ. Is that true? Now, how many parents have asked that over the last 50 years? Here's the difference. He's showing me an app called Collects. He's showing me an app called Center Stage. He's showing me an app called Ludin. He's showing me last sales on eBay. Are these numbers true?
Why do all these parents have your phone number?
Because I'm a father of two children, Andrew.
Gotcha.
You'll settle down one day and realize that becomes your social circle. But no, look, that to me is the bigger sign of parents are now trusting the data. If our parents would have, think about it, if parents would have thought a Mickey Mantle rookie was going to be worth something, they wouldn't have thrown it out. So parents are letting their kids submit it to PSA. They're seeing how that changes the value they're getting behind it. You hear.
Well, put your minds in a blender here. You ready? The reason why the Mantle is worth money is because parents threw it out.
Okay. But now with PSA and grading and pop reports and technology and liquidity solutions, maybe it's not worth $1 million, but maybe the card your kid bought for $30, once it's graded for $18, is now worth $130.
Okay, so following that logic, because the parents know the comps of all the current cards, everyone's going to preserve them, grade them. And in turn, that's going to make the modern stuff, ultra modern stuff, super, super invaluable. It's going to lose value because there's too much supply versus back then no one knew the comp, so they threw this stuff out, and in turn 50 years later it caused.
Mark and I lived through this, right? In the 80s, everybody started to collect cards again, and the early 80s stuff, the 70s stuff, the vintage stuff had value, and it started coming out of the woodwork, the Mickey Mantles, you name it, and oh wow, that's worth some money. So kids who were 13, 14, 15, 18, whatever it was, started saving all their cards at the same exact time the money came in and everything was mass produced in the 90s, early 90s. And I got a basement full of 90s football cards and baseball cards that are legit worthless. And there are a lot of people like me that have that, right? And that's what happens. So yeah, I mean, Andrew,
and maybe you'll have those in slabs 20 years. Next generation, it'll be slabs of cards that are worthless,
junk slabs,
right? That's probably.
Go back, guys. You want to have a fun trip down memory lane, and we'll let Mark go. Go back to our first 40 episodes. Some of our episodes, people forget. They think we've just been here, getting 20,000 views and listens and you name it for the whole time. It's not. We paid our dues also, right? So first week we had 173 total listens. My favorite one that has the least, it's just over 100 listens total for the episode. Even people who get back didn't even. Who the F is Culver?
Jared Culver,
because
yeah.
That's what Andrew said during the episode. And it was because we talked about Jared Culver and grading his cards and all the. And I'm telling you, there are thousands of graded Jared Culver cards from Hoops and whatever else. Those will be in someone's basement 20 years from now.
Someone asked us in our Coffee with Cage.
Okay.
Someone asked us in our Coffee with Cage, is it environmentally dangerous how many slabs have been released in the last years?
Yes.
So couple fun tidbits I learned at the National. The value of some people's collections in plastic alone.
It's amazing.
Think about that.
I had a
Think about
fraternity brother a long time ago who collected pennies with the goal that one day he would just melt them all down for the value of the copper, which would be more than a penny. But
now
no.
it might not be a bad play. Secondly, I think two things I'll combine into one. Pokemon, holy shit. You talk to these dealers that have stores, they all showing up looking to buy Pokemon. Big shout to Don Diego throwing that trade night and really doing it. I don't think it got enough attention. I know a lot of the hobby showed up to support it, which was cool. But I'd say, we should be embracing Pokemon a little bit tighter, not because of a collectible and make money standpoint, but you bring that amount of people corporately to, you look at Comic-Con, how it's so wide. So, it's something I would like to, just, put a button on. And then I'd say, man, Derek Jeter was hot at the National. That seemed to be the topic of cards that people were buying, undervalued. And then, Case, to your point, though, what I picked up at the National that I took home to start buying, you remember Collector's Choice baseball product, Collector's Choice basketball product?
For kids, yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, it was a buck a pack. You bought it in the gas station and threw them away after. Every pack had a silver signature. Every box had a gold signature. I forgot how beautiful those cards are. I also forgot how condition sensitive they were. And then I thought back and realized how rare they are because we all threw them away. But you have Griffey, Bonds, Frank Thomas, Jeter rookie, A-Rod rookie, Michael Jordan in Chicago White Sox cards.
Yeah, baseball fielding. He's like,
and the coolest thing I've learned, and I'm going to share boxes have one silver per pack. All right, one gold per box. But the sets come with 5 golds. So Jacob and I have been collector's choice set breaking last couple of days and having the time of our life. We actually pulled the Griffey, which was
This is the card, guys. If you're on YouTube, you can pull it up. This is it, right? Zablow, collector's choice gold signature?
Yep. And exactly. And in 94, baseball was what we started buying. And it's funny because, to your point, Cage, there's probably a billion guys with these in their basement.
Yep, 100%.
Just collecting does. And all it takes is a little bit of nostalgia, a little bit of cool factor, and a very low pop to get things.
So a fun one that Mark mentioned that people won't even realize what it is. He said, I need a Patrick Ewing first day. All right, so we're going to leave you with a little tidbit. We haven't given plays for a while, but people love the 90s basketball inserts because they were numbered in the second half of the 90s, right? That's why people love these things. There were precursors to numbers, starting in the 93 Finest. The first refractors were there. In 1993 Stadium Club, Chris Webber, Penny Hardaway, rookie year. Also, football had them. The first one's a cool one because it's almost prismatic. I pulled a Chris Webber out of a pack. I think I still have it.
Wow.
What they did, instead of having gold parallels or numbered parallels or refractor parallels, was Top said first day issue was what it was called. And it lasted for quite a few years. And allegedly it was the ones that were the first day of printing cards. Right, so they printed Stadium Club, you name it, but the first day, the ones that were printed on the first day, there's a Patrick Ewing first day. They'll see the little chromium box that actually says first day issue in that little box there. It was sort of like one of the first parallels, like you say, with the gold. Tops had gold cards. You name it. This was a Stadium Club first day issue. It says it right there on the slab, first day issue. And later versions of Stadium Club, they did it with like gold foil. They wrote like a little 1ST first day issue. I think I have like a Steve Young in my basement somewhere. These are cool, like rarer than you think, but not as rare as like out of 100. The problem with it is we go back to certainty. Unless someone from Topps comes out and says, all right, that 93 Stadium Club first day issue, we made 5,000 of each one of these cards or whatever. It can't become Topps Tiffany. What made Topps Tiffany cool is there are stated print runs. We're supposed to know how many complete sets of them were made. I don't know how many first issues are made, and I'm sure it changed each year by product, by sport. But it's a cool parallel. Yeah. I like that you brought that up.
But let's almost end there, right? Collect what you love. I know how hard they were to get. I know how condition sensitive they were. So even if you pulled it pack fresh, they had ding corners.
Yep.
And I also remember in that Stadium Club year that they used the same photos from for every player from the same game. So if you want Michael Jordan cards, there's 3 or 4 Jordan cards in the set, but they played the Knicks that year. And there's about 4, 5, 6 Knicks photos that have Jordan in the background. There's a handful of other players that have Shaq and Penny in the background. So it's collect what you love.
How old are you, Mark? How do you remember this? I thought you were 32.
32. Yeah, 40. I turned 41 next month, actually. You'll have me on for a birthday episode.
I would love that. Last question, Luca Nation. First off, if you're working out to this episode, you're welcome. You are appointed the new CEO of Alt. What do you do?
Oh, hire
Andrew
me.
collects that old check.
Wait, you are the CEO.
Yeah, hire myself. What Snoop say? I want to thank you to me, only me, and just me.
Okay.
Nah,
$1 million check going out of the house first day.
That's
Mark
it.
Zablow,
No.
there you go. Okay.
Honestly, to be honest with you, Andrew, I don't know enough about Alt. I've heard it from the fringes. I'm in my dumpster fire on Clubhouse. I don't know enough. I've met Nicole a little bit, and I hope to get to know her better. But I've never met Lior in person. They have supported Bleecker a lot. I have my Jordan rookie with them. But no, I don't know enough. I'd love to learn more. I'm happy that Adam's there, and I would love to learn more about them. But no, I mean, look, I think when we had the shuttle from Bleecker,
Yes.
that Monday night, someone from Alt actually was like, "Hey, wish you would have brought that to us. We would have kind of helped sponsor that." And big shout to Stiff over at Card Ladder for the content he put out, because I'm sure we got more love out of that than anything. And shout to Collectors and Nick at PSA who sent us some really dope merch to hook everyone up with. But I think what I would love to do, whether it's Alt or anyone, is just from a lifestyle standpoint, make them more relevant, because it goes back to the certainty you talk about, Cage. And I think, wanting to represent the brand above and beyond just where you put your cards is very important. And the way people wear a Rolex hat or they wear their Porsche jacket, I love that people do that at Bleecker, and I want to continue to, stretch that through the hobby.
The only old story I have, and we can end with this, Andrew, it's very funny. Our listeners are the best. They send me messages all the time. And I put a story up the day that Zach Wilson got injured. And it was a picture of like a private jet. And the caption was like the pilot. This is your pilot. We'll now be turning this jet. We're landing in New York. And it was, a quarterback from out in San Francisco, smiling on the plane, making a little joke about Zach Wilson's injured, so fly in the new QB. And somebody messaged me and wrote, "I don't get it. Why is the head of Alt going to land in New York?" And I'm like, that's not Lior. It's Jimmy Garoppolo. I was like, Lior owes you some money for one.
I did write Nicole after the National, but she hasn't wrote me back yet. So if she does, Andrew, and I do get to know them, I will bring some ideas and thoughts back to you.
And okay, so Luca Nation, a lengthy National Treasure episode, but one for the ages. And Dumpster Fire is you on Clubhouse. That's how they should follow you. Dumpster Fire.
Oh no! I wouldn't recommend I wouldn't recommend going into any Clubhouse room about trading cards. I would not recommend it. Okay, I mean, unless you want to join a Dumpster Fire. No, look, follow me at Bleecker. My personal Instagram for my collection, which is boring, is Shallon Iverson. But follow us at Bleecker. Trade night, August 30th.
Don't go on Clubhouse. Wink, wink. Don't go on Clubhouse. Speaking of Superbad, when you walked in, like on Austin in that hotel room, what did you think when you eventually found it?
Oh God! I heard your conspiracy theory. By the way, I wasn't
conspiracy. There's no conspiracy there.
No, but the whole made the money, and I never thought about that as a tactic. Like, how many times I've needed extended checkout and couldn't pull it off? Like, you got me. You're very, very, very innovative here, Andrew.
When you don't come from a lot, you need to figure out ways to get into places that you probably don't deserve.
You should see his private parking lot at the National. He had his own parking lot. It was
But
amazing.
bro, wait a minute. Big shout to the hobby for finding Austin. Right? Like I literally got an Instagram phone call. Like on Instagram, it's like you have a phone call, and he was found in the casino, and they Instagram videoed him. I was like, holy shit! And that's because someone saw the hobby posts.
Wow.
Big shout out to Anthony Barone. I think he was the first one to put it up. Big shout to Stiff for being the one to find him. But no, shout to the hobby. We mobilized. You know, I think you should feel good. If you're a parent, feel good about that. The hobby will show up.
Legendary episode, Kate. Maybe our longest one, an hour 20. I think it's right up there. But it's
cut some shit out.
Not you. There's nothing to clip when it comes to you, Mark.
We don't cut, dude.
And run on sentences.
It's unfiltered is probably the name of the show. Zablow, thank you. We'll have you back. Happy upcoming birthday. Shout out to your team. We didn't get to give flowers to Jacob, but the dude, I think he has like a doppelganger because he's always around 24 hours a day, working hard. Great guy. Wish you all nothing but success, and we'll be back tomorrow, Luca Nation.
So thank you all for listening to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mai. I wanted to tell you about a new service that we have starting as of today, and I'm really, really excited to bring it to you guys. So as a part of our partnership with SGC, we got 50 free submissions every single month, and many of you have taken advantage of that. And it's amazing that we could have the opportunity to 650 episodes, 675 episodes in, to go ahead and give back to our community. As people were sending those cards in, they asked, can we send 5, 10, 20 more cards to you guys? We'll pay for it, but we wanted them graded with SGC. You guys know SGC is turning cards around in 13 to 14 business days, have incredible customer service, and their secondary market values are going up day after day after day. And that's exciting for the hobby and exciting for the grading landscape. So we didn't want to just rush into it. We wanted to do it right. And what we did was I relocated here to Boca Raton, Florida. I opened up a P.O. box maybe 5 minutes away from SGC, and I will be hand delivering and hand picking up the cards. So you don't have to worry about anyone else touching your cards. It will be me, and I will update you every step of the way. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to personally pick up the cards from a P.O. box, prep them, new card saver, new penny sleeve, and deliver them to SGC every single Tuesday. Why Tuesday? Well, it lets the stragglers over the weekend come back through on Monday and gives me a day to prep, and it basically gives SGC the entire week to work on grading those cards. Once your cards pop, only then at the end of the process will you be paying for the service. It's $25 per card, simple as that, and the turnaround times have never been faster. We're hearing right now 13, 14, less than 20 business days. So there it is. 9170 Glades Road, number 135 is the P.O. Box in Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. 9170 Glades Road, number 135, Boca Raton, Florida, 33434. Of course, you could shoot me an email or shoot me a text anytime, and I'm always available. Many of you already have my email. It's iamandrewgoldberg@gmail.com. or my cell phone number, 215-519-9154. Reach out with any questions. I could walk you through the process. I've hopped on the call with quite a few of you, and I'm happy to do that. Love you, Luca Nation.